Alright, decided to leave the battery alone for a little bit. I'm trying to work some things out with the terminals, but so I wanted to get some low-hanging fruit out of the way. This is the solar charge controller, and this is the middle two terminals are the for the solar panels, and then this is 12 gauge wire with a power pole on it, and you can just run it out this hole. That gives a nice extension cord, and then the solar panels I usually use will have extension cords with them, so should have plenty of run. I use 12 gauge because that's about the largest I feel comfortable with this, with these 15, 30, 45 power pole connectors. So I did that away from the camera. What I'm going to do is run a smaller gauge, a 14 gauge wire, and this is going to connect to the battery. So this is the battery terminal set, and then I'll be running it to here and here. So the first thing to do is kind of get an idea of the length. So always make it a little bit longer because you can always trim stuff away. Get this out of the way. So the zip cord, you just start it a little bit, and then usually you can tear it with your fingers. But so what I'm going to do is, this is just going to get stripped and go in here, and then the other end is going to get us some ring terminals to go on the stuff you saw down there. I'm going to do the ring terminals first. 14, so it's that second hole. About 1/4 inch, 5/16. That's kind of what you want. So if I haven't mentioned this before, I always like daubing some dielectric grease on these things, especially since this is like bare copper, it's not tin copper. Just helps keep it from getting oxidized. And then I forgot, so these are going to need to be different lengths because they're going to two different terminal blocks. So pull these apart a little bit more, because one's got to go over here, one's got to go over here, coming from the solar charge controller. And what I'm going to do is, you can't see it, but the one over here I'm just going to make negative, the one over here I'm going to make positive. And then, so yeah, this one's positive. I'll put a little bit more grease on it since I was playing with it. So this is a 1/4 inch ring terminal made for 14 to 16 gauge wire. So blue to blue. Now I just like to get it started. Alright. And you don't want that copper sticking too far out. I always make it about flush. And then hatchet released. Give it a tug. It ain't coming loose. And then before I secure this semi-permanently, I'm gonna do all my measurements out here. So I'll give it a little bit of a service loop, strain relief. Just give it a snip, re-strip it. A little bit more dielectric grease. Ring terminal. Blue to the blue dot. One click to hold it. Now what I want to do is make sure I crimp this with the ring terminal in the right orientation so that I don't have to twist the wire just to get the ring terminal on this block. So, although this is thin enough where I could just twist it and it would. Alright, so for the time being, I'm just going to use the split washer in this nut, but eventually I'm going to probably replace it with a nylock. These split washers don't really lock as well as the nylocks do, or some of the metal locking nuts, but I just want to hold it in place for right now. Those are snug, finger tight, I should say. Now what I'm going to do is, I'll just use the extra length to create another service loop, and then, yeah. Should be good enough. Some more dielectric grease. And I gotta look at the polarity here. Little screwdriver. Alright. Got the positive end. You really want to hold it down until you get some clamping pressure on it. Otherwise it'll kind of back out a little bit. Don't want that. Alright. Everyone's tight.